Someone is mid-sentence and you jump in before they finish. You didn't mean to. You genuinely weren't trying to talk over them. And yet it happened anyway. Again. You tell yourself you're just excited or impatient. But the real reason is far stranger. Your brain isn't ignoring the other person. It's racing against its own memory. Think about what's actually happening while someone talks to you. You're not just listening. You're simultaneously forming a response, holding it in your mind, and waiting for a gap to say it. That response lives in a fragile mental space researchers call working memory. And working memory doesn't hold information for very long. A psychologist named Alan Badley, who spent decades studying how the mind holds information temporarily, found that anything sitting in working memory is constantly at risk of slipping away, especially if something else demands attention in the meantime. That great point you thought of? It has a shelf life. And every second the other person keeps talking is another second it might vanish. So interrupting isn't always about ego. Sometimes it's a rescue mission. Your brain, worried it's about to lose a thought it worked hard to generate, jumps in before that thought disappears completely. Here's where it gets stranger. A linguist named Deborah Tannen studied how different people interpret overlapping speech and found something surprising. For some conversational styles, jumping in while someone is still talking isn't rude at all. It's a sign of enthusiasm, a way of saying, "I'm so engaged I can't wait." But for other conversational styles, that same overlap feels like being cut off and dismissed. Same behavior, two completely different meanings depending on which conversational culture you grew up in. This is why interrupting can feel harmless to the person doing it and genuinely hurtful to the person on the receiving end, without either person doing anything wrong by their own internal rules. You're not failing at conversation. You're running a different protocol than the person across from you, and neither of you got a manual explaining the mismatch. There's also a simpler piece to this. The moment you sense a pause, even a tiny one, your brain treats it as an opening, a green light in a conversation that has no formal rules for exactly when a turn should end. Linguists studying conversation timing found that the gap people wait before speaking is often shorter than the time it takes the other person to physically finish their sentence, which means overlap isn't a mistake. It's built into how fast normal conversation actually moves. So the interruption you didn't mean to make wasn't really a failure of patience. It was your working memory trying to protect a thought before it slipped away, colliding with a timing system that was never perfectly synced between two people to begin with. So the next time you catch yourself cutting someone off mid-sentence, notice what actually happened. You weren't being careless. You were trying to hold on to something valuable before your own mind let it go, in a system built for overlap in the first place. Someone is mid-sentence, and this time, you feel the urge to jump in. And you recognize it for what it is. Not rudeness. Just your mind racing to save a thought before it disappears.